6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Yesterday, I called my son, Rob.
Oh, nice.
Said, hi, how you doing? Haven't spoken to you in a long time. 31 years old. You know, he works in the computer business and whatever. He does something with... I don't even know what he does. It's unbelievable. But I can remember when he was a little guy running around. I can remember those days. And this weekend I had the privilege of being with you and your family and your two children who are also adults.
38 and 40.
I can remember when they were little people running around too. and when I look at my nephews and nieces now with little children and the running around, and they've got puppies and they've got, things spilling on the floor, and I think, oh my gosh, do I miss this or not? I'm not sure if I miss it or not. Michelle Gale is on the phone. She wrote the book Mindful Parenting in a Messy World, Living with Presence and Parenting with Purpose. I love reading the Facebook posts, by the way, by my nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
Because I can relate to it, even though I'm not living it anymore. Michelle is a mindfulness teacher, an executive coach, and an advocate for family. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
You're welcome. Where are you?
I am in California, but I went to Florida State, which I don't think is too far from where you all are.
Nice. Well, thank you. What made you change locations?
I just wanted something different after college. I just drove out here with my car and my cat and figured it all out.
What part of California did you move to?
To San Francisco area.
Nice.
I had a feeling. I just had that feeling. So tell me about yourself. How many? You have two children, two boys?
I do. I have two boys. My oldest is 14, and my youngest is 11, just turned 11. And I started practicing when they were very little, so I had to be very creative.
So I'm going to assume that your husband and you are co-parenting, right? Or am I wrong about that?
No, you're correct. We are.
Well, and that's probably the ultimate best way to do it, right? I have a niece who will post sometimes on Facebook, I can't wait for Daddy to get home so I can take a break.
Yeah, I love that.
I know, but there's so many single mamas and dads out there doing such a good job, too.
There you go. That's absolutely true. So tell me about the book.
Well, the book is, the main premise of the book is that the mess in our lives and the things that we find most difficult actually have the potential for our greatest learning and our greatest growth, which is kind of opposite of how it normally is, because, you're in the kitchen in the morning and the dogs are barking and the waffles are burning and the kids are late to school, and it feels like, what in the world? What could be positive about any of this? And from the lens of mindfulness, when we bring attention to our experience, so in that moment of that morning when we notice everything is just completely sideways, if we can pause for just a minute and take a breath and look around and settle our systems a little bit, it actually is this beautiful training of the mind and training of our being to be more calm and be more present.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And you sum that up in 4 words: react less and connect more. I mean, I love that.
Exactly. React less and connect more. And sometimes we do react. That's how life goes. And then we recover and start over. So it's not bad to react. It's just that when we practice mindfulness more and more, we move from this autopilot place to more of an aware place. We're more aware of what's going on within us, around us, our emotions. And that just has this outcome of bringing more peace to our lives.
So you moved away from the South, and Robin and I both moved to the South, and there's something that happens here that sounds almost like what you're talking about. In New York, for example, if somebody does you wrong, you might yell at them. But down here, I noticed this in the grocery store the other day. This guy was being really rude by cutting in front of this lady, and this woman just said, "Bless your heart." And I thought, well, isn't that the best thing to say?
Oh, yes, that is so beautiful. Yeah.
But she was thinking something else, though.
Oh, you think? I don't know. But...
No, I love it. She was really seeing the pain in this man. She was seeing, if you're behaving this way, then you must be suffering. And this is how it is with our kids, too. There's a saying that says, children who need the most love will show us in the most unloving ways.
Oh, really? Give me an example of that.
So let's say there's a child that's really behaving badly, you know,
Right.
from whatever our perception is. They're acting out, they're being nasty, they're being rude, like whatever it is. Instead of seeing that as, oh, that's a bad child, we can see that, oh, that's a child that's hurting. There's something inside of them. There's some need that's not being met. There's some emotional turmoil. And what if instead of just getting mad at them and yelling at them and punishing them and, you know, putting them in their room, we said to them, sit down with me. Like, tell me what's going on. Like, I can really
I love
see
that.
you're upset and you're having a hard time. Let's talk about it. Are you willing to talk about it? Do you want me just to sit here with you? Should we maybe read together? You know, and just lean into them instead of separating them.
And that communication is so extremely important. I have two children, a boy and a girl. They're 38 and 40 right now. My daughter is 2 years younger than my son, and they are both individuals. So they each had their own separate needs. They're not clones of each other.
Absolutely. And we do have to be with them differently.
Exactly.
Do you know what I wonder about what you just said? And it sounds like your children were born to you. Am I right?
Yes, they were.
Okay, my son was born to me. Robin's children were born. So we see them as little tiny babies. They don't speak. They don't walk. They don't. You know. And then they grow up. But I have family members who have adopted children, who have I believe one of the adopted children was over 10 already, if I remember right. And my point is that when we ease into a person's life, you sort of kind of see everything that happens to them along the way. But if you're adopting a child at the age of 10, they've got 10 years of something behind them. So it's I could see it as easily, instead of just saying, oh, bless your heart, let me talk to you about what's going on, you could easily say, stop that. Yeah, sit down. Right? I could easily see it taking the other approach. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I could see that happening. And for a child like that who's been adopted at age 10, I mean, they need even more understanding, right? Because there's been all this understanding that's missed. So there's got to be even more curiosity and more openness and more willing to lean in and to ask the questions and to be able to sit in discomfort. You know, I mean, with whether the children are born to us or not, so much about being a parent is being able to tolerate discomfort, right, without losing it. You know,
you speak about a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. What kind of role does spirituality play in your upbringing of your children?
You know, we don't have a specific religion necessarily, although most of my retreat experience is in the Vipassana tradition, which is a Buddhist tradition. But I raised my children very open. I wrote a blog post years ago why I raised my children open to all spiritual faiths. And, you know, I do practice meditation. I practice mindfulness, you know, so kindness, compassion, being present, you know, those are really the things that my children have been grown up with. And spirituality for me is really just connecting to something bigger than myself. I don't know exactly what that is, and I trust it exists. And that's really the kind of the soup they've grown up in. You know, one time my son was passing by a Catholic church with my in-laws, and he's like, you know, I don't think we're Catholic. And they said, oh, you're not? And he said, no, my mom was raised Catholic, but I don't think we're Catholic. They said, well, what are you? He's like, I think we're Buddhistical.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
I love that.
You know, when you ask me what I am, I'll tell you, well, I'm Buddhistical, obviously. You know?
That's too funny. I have a question to ask you. You are a woman who, in the book, says you went through some period in your life, I guess it was your college years, when you didn't always make the best choices. And,
No.
and from a man's point of view, I can tell you that it was always disappointing when you would try your hardest to be the gentleman, and then the bad guy would always get the girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then later on, she would complain about him, and you would say to yourself, "Well, what the heck? Why didn't you see me? I'm standing right here." All right. How are you raising your boys so that they don't become part of the Me Too phenomenon? You don't want them to be a boy who you know doesn't understand how to treat a woman right. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Because some
absolutely.
of the men, right? Some of the men you met in those years were the Me Too men, weren't they?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, yes. And, we're all a part of this Me Too movement. I don't feel like it's a separation between men and women. I feel like it's this real invitation to come in together and to have the hard conversations, because we've all been a part of this dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of it is not knowing ourselves. And a lot of it is not being able to stand strong in who we are as a human being, which I wasn't able to do at that age. I didn't have a solid sense of myself.
But you have boys.
And that was what. But I have boys, and we have been having these conversations, since they were little.
I hope,
Even when they were in kindergarten. How you treat a girl, and that they're your equal. There's a respect there. And my son, who's 14, not yet dating or anything, but we do have those conversations about women and men and the dynamic, and we talk about the Me Too movement. And for me, the best thing we can do with our children is to have, of course, age appropriate, depending on their age, honest conversations about relationship and about what's going on in the world. And that's what we do.
All right, I'm gonna reveal my age by telling you this story. So it was 1977. I was how old was I in 70? I was 22 years old.
Yeah.
I went out to L.A. and I was trying to make myself a music career or something like that. Anyway, so I had a bunch of friends, and they said, "Oh, we got somebody who wants you to teach the chords to a Fleetwood Mac song." I said, "Oh, okay, no problem." So everybody left the apartment. They went somewhere. It wasn't because this girl was coming over. And this girl comes over. Oh my God, she was beautiful. All right. So now there's a girl in the apartment and me and nobody else.
Did she bring a guitar?
She brought a guitar.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I was just wondering.
So now I'm showing her the chords to a Fleetwood Mac song that she wanted to learn. And I'm really just doing it, and I'm being a gentleman about it. And at one point she says, "You know what? I'm surprised at something." I said, "What?" She said, "Almost all guys try to get into my pants." And I said, "Oh my gosh, well, that's not me. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to do that." But I was so thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder if she'd go out with a guy like me. But I didn't think so. I thought, you know what? I'm too dorky. It's not going to happen. and so the nice guys who will never be named in the Me Too movement were the guys who get passed over, it seemed like. And you wouldn't want your boys to feel that way, that they were being rejected all the time.
Yeah, no, no one wants to feel like they're rejected all the time. What matters for me with my boys is that they know who they are as human beings.
Yeah.
That's my goal. I told them, by the time you're 18 and leave, I want you to be living, to be alive. That's the first most important thing. And the second is that you know who you are, that you are somewhat connected to your purpose and that inner strength within you, and understand your mind. That's what matters to me when they leave here.
And that's super important, because you want all children, if you're a loving parent, you want your children to be their own individual self. You don't want to live your life again through them by forcing them to being a mini you.
Absolutely, and that's so common. And that's a beautiful thing to say, because I often will tell parents when I'm leading retreats, they'll ask us, "Why do you do this? Why does this matter so much to you?" And my answer is almost always the same. It's because I want to be with the child in front of me, not my imagination of them. I just want to be with the child who's right there, without my beliefs and my stories and my wants and my needs. I want to be with that child, and that's why this work of mindfulness and awareness practice is so important to me.
And that's why the parent should learn to take care of themselves in tandem while they're taking care of their child.
Absolutely, to have self-compassion, to not be so hard on ourselves, to know who we are, to do self-care, right? Because parents, I can remember when my children were really young, and maybe my son was 4, my oldest was 4, and my youngest was 6 months or something, and I thought, wow, where did I go in all of this? I just kind of didn't know myself anymore, because I'd given myself over so completely to mothering. And that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, most women and men as well will wake up a little bit and be like, there's some essence of me that I've lost a bit. And there's a little bit of searching that needs to happen, or hopefully will happen, which it did for me.
And that happened to me because when both of my children left, I didn't have anybody else to take care of. So I had to reinvent myself.
You have to reinvent yourself, because our identity gets so wrapped up in our little people, and it's good to be able to see it.
Yeah, that's why when you see when I see a young mom, young dad now, and they're with the kids, I always silently say to myself, "Enjoy this moment because it goes so fast. It just disappears so fast."
No
If your son is 14, we don't need to tell you because you're already there.
No, I know. I'm already there, and he's so independent and just really taking on this life of his own, and I'm just so grateful for all those moments that he comes to me and he needs me and wants to ask a question, or it's just every one of those moments is just like little bits of gems.
Yeah.
So happy to be with it. I just want to soak it all in every time.
You have some really good reviews on Amazon. You are getting some really good numbers. Out of the millions of books on Amazon, you're number 111 in self-help. That's pretty good. It's hard to, and nothing but 5-star reviews from your readers. I'm thinking that your readers are appreciating the fact that they can. I'm assuming most of them are in your shoes and they're relating to it, and there's some consolation in knowing that, because part of what you talk about in the book also is when you are at the edge of losing your temper, when you almost cross that line, right?
Oh yeah.
Talk about that a little. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we all get there, and again, I want to say sometimes we can pull ourselves back, and sometimes we can't. And like neither one is, you're not bad because you lose your temper. I still lose my temper, and I've been doing this work for years and years and years, and I'll still lose my temper. And when it happens, I think, okay, this is a moment. This is a moment to reconcile. This is a moment to have my child understand me better. This is a moment for connection, right? That's immediately how I think about it afterwards. After that initial gut punch, I immediately see it as an opportunity. But that leading up to it, when we know it's coming, so mindfulness, when we practice, it calms the mind. It gives us clarity of the mind. It helps to regulate our emotions, and by all those things, increases our well-being. But as that rise is coming and we feel the anger moving, when we have mindfulness, we can say, "Oh, my jaw's tight. My stomach is feeling a little nauseous. Like I'm really feeling that intensity. I'm going to pause, right? I'm going to take a breath." There's this beautiful little micro practice that I teach parents. Do you guys want to do it? It's really short.
Sure, go ahead.
A little practice. So if as you're kind of you can do it any time of day, whether you're upset or not. But when I kind of notice I'm getting upset, I'll pause and I take a breath. And the first breath is just experiencing the breath. So just breathing in and breathing out.
Okay.
And the second breath, you allow yourself to feel just relax into the body. So breathing in and just relaxing the body, feeling gravity.
I can't do this more than 10 times or else I'll fall asleep.
I know, don't fall asleep. Stay with me here. The third breath, breathing in and breathing out. We're asking ourselves a question, what's most important right now?
Oh, my God.
That's excellent.
What's the answer?
And we wait for that answer, right? Yeah. What's the answer? It could be connection. It could be my walking away. It could be to say something, kind, or whatever it might be, right? To feel compassion for myself. But we wait for that answer, and then we see what happens next. So we can, these practices can just give us this pause and a little bit of space to have some choice about what comes next.
Yeah, because you can't ever take back or make up for something that you said or done. You can't erase it. It's always there.
You can't erase it. You can't take it back. And we've all had those situations where something comes out of our mouth and we're kind of reaching out with our fingers, wishing we could pull it back. And we can't, but we can repair. We can always repair. We can always step in and lean in to repair, and it actually builds connection. So when bad things happen, when things happen that we perceive as bad, we can repair the situation. And it actually, particularly with our children, deepens connection. We come with say, "I'm sorry, I wish I wouldn't have yelled. Here's what was going on inside of me," right? I'm always making the implicit explicit for my kids. I'm always telling them what's going on for me inside, so they can learn what goes on for them inside by me modeling it.
I'm wondering about the world part of the title. It says Mindful Parenting in a Messy World. And if I could just have about a half minute to explain where my thoughts are coming from. When I was early 20s, I wanted to change the world, the Asia, America, everything. I want to change everything. and I thought I could do it with words or with music or with art or with something like that. By the time I got to 30, I figured out I couldn't change the world, but maybe I could change my world.
Yeah.
Now you're in control right now of the world of the two boys who are your sons, but yet the outside world is knocking on their door. I'm sure they get the stories of the shootings at the schools of Kim Jong-un and President Trump and all that other stuff that comes through the TV and the radio. Do you isolate them from that? Do you have discussions about those things? And is that their world, or is their world only the world you allow them to have?
That's a beautiful question. No, for me, mindful parenting in a messy world is all of it. It's the whole catastrophe of our lives, whether that's in my house, while they're at school, while they're at the friend's house, while they're playing sports, while they're, hearing things about what's going on in the world. For me, really and truly, everything is fodder for growth, and any of it. So I'm willing to have a conversation with my boys about all of it. And sometimes it's like they don't even want it. My son's 14, and I keep trying to have the sex conversation, and he's just like, Mom, no, not, no, I don't really want to. But I say it's there. I'm here. Like, don't look on the internet. Don't ask your friends. You're going to get a lot of misinformation. Like, ask me, ask another adult you trust. And when it comes to what's going on in the world and all of these tragedies, yes, it's a time to be able to talk through and connect and understand. And we can't understand, and I share that with them too. The world is a mysterious place. We don't understand why all of these things happen. Mm-hmm. And how do we relate to it as human beings? And what do we want to do in the world to make the world a better place? And what is our purpose?
And that's the hardest thing someone has to do when they grow up. They have to make the decisions themselves, because if the decisions aren't the correct ones, the blame falls back on their own self.
Yeah, exactly. And the worst thing we can do is to be self-deprecating in our lives. Life happens, and it's messy, just like the book says.
Yeah, just like the book says. You're a delight. Michelle, you are delightful. Thank you for taking time to be with us today. The book is called Mindful Parenting in a Messy World by Michelle Gale, Gale. I did find it on Amazon, and I have a copy of the book. So if you want the copy that Michelle sent to us, call me, and I'll leave it on the desk here for you. The rest of us have to buy it. It's on Amazon. Do you have a website you want to recommend?
Yeah, just my name, Michelle, that has 2 L's, and Gale, Gale. Or Be a Mindful Parent. It also goes there. BeAMindfulParent.com. That's easier.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Michelle, you got your hands full, and in one way, I'm glad I'm not there anymore, and another way, I wish I was there.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I was here with all of you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, we will be right back.
Hey, this is Matt Wilkerson from Verizon. You work all day, right? So why would you want to spend your night out shopping for that new phone? Well, Marion County, let me and Verizon help you out. I can deliver to your home or office, saving you precious time. Phone, tablets, internet, home phones, even accessories. Whatever you need, we will deliver.